Fire and blood. That's the motto of House Targaryen, dragon-riding rulers of Westeros. They built an empire, but their story is one of rise and fall, of betrayal and revolution. But what if I told you the Targaryens weren't just a fantasy? The Romanovs, the last imperial dynasty of Russia, faced a rise and fall just as dramatic. Today, we're comparing House Targaryen to the Romanovs, the real-life rulers who went from absolute power to tragic downfall. From palace intrigues to revolution, let's dive into the story of two dynasties consumed by power. The rise of the Targaryens and the Romanovs. The Targaryens ruled Westeros for centuries, claiming the throne through fire, dragons, and conquest. Their dominance over the Seven Kingdoms was built on power and fear, just like the Romanovs' rise in Russia. The Romanov dynasty began in 1613 after years of chaos, when Michael I was crowned Tsar to restore stability to a fractured Russia. Both families established their dominance through force and legacy. The Targaryens unified the Seven Kingdoms under the power of their dragons, while the Romanovs expanded the Russian Empire, ruling over vast territories and peoples. These empires were built on power, but they would also be destroyed by it. For centuries, both the Targaryens and the Romanovs maintained power through fear and control, but as we know, every empire has its cracks. Mad King and Nicholas II. The fall begins. The decline of the Targaryens began with the Mad King, Aerys II, a ruler whose paranoia and cruelty sparked rebellion. For the Romanovs, it was Nicholas II, the last Tsar, who led his family down a similar path. Both rulers found themselves in a time of growing unrest, struggling to maintain control of their empires. While Aerys burned his enemies and provoked his own subjects, Nicholas II faced revolutionaries demanding change. He tried to suppress these movements, but his efforts only fueled the flames. Much like the Mad King's downfall, Nicholas's attempts to maintain absolute power led to disaster. Both Aerys and Nicholas II saw their kingdoms slip through their fingers as they failed to adapt to the changing times. The Targaryens faced Robert's rebellion, while the Romanovs faced the Russian Revolution. Both were turning points that set the stage for the end of these once mighty dynasties. The influence of mystics, the Red Priestess and Rasputin. Now let's talk about the mystics who influenced these families. In Game of Thrones, Daenerys and other rulers were swayed by powerful figures like Melisandre, who used magic and prophecy to guide their decisions. The Romanovs had their own mystical influence. Grigory Rasputin, a Siberian monk who claimed he could heal their son, Alexei, and brought chaos into the Russian court. Much like Melisandre, Rasputin had an almost supernatural hold over the Romanovs. Tsarina Alexandra believed Rasputin had divine powers, and his influence grew, leading to scandal and suspicion. As the people of Russia suffered, Rasputin's presence became a symbol of the Romanovs' corruption, just as Melisandre's influence created fear and mistrust in Westeros. In both cases, the people saw these mystics as symbols of the ruler's disconnect from reality. The mysticism and prophecies that once seemed powerful became dangerous signs of the ruler's failing grip on power. It was only a matter of time before their influence contributed to the downfall of the dynasties. The Targaryen rebellion versus the Russian Revolution. As unrest grew, both the Targaryens and the Romanovs faced full-blown rebellion. Robert's rebellion was sparked by the Mad King's cruelty, while the Russian Revolution erupted as the people demanded change and an end to the Romanovs' reign. In both cases, years of misrule and suffering led to violent uprisings. In Russia, revolutionaries stormed the Winter Palace. Nicholas II was forced to abdicate the throne. The Targaryens, too, were forced from power, with the Iron Throne falling into the hands of their enemies. For the Targaryens, their legacy was shattered, and they became exiles scattered across the world. For the Romanovs, abdication marked the beginning of the end, a descent into captivity, and ultimately tragedy. The end of the dynasty, the Romanov execution, and the Targaryen extinction. The end of both dynasties is shrouded in darkness and blood. After Robert's rebellion, the Targaryens became legends of the past, with only a few surviving to tell their tale. For the Romanovs, the end was even more tragic. The entire family, Nicholas, Alexandra, and their children, were taken to a small house in Yekaterinburg, where they were executed by the Bolsheviks. The execution of the Romanovs was brutal, marking the violent end of a 300-year-old dynasty. And much like the Targaryens, whose fall was written into history as a cautionary tale of power and madness, the Romanovs' story became a symbol of the dangers of absolute power and the consequences of revolution. Both families once ruled great empires, and both were destroyed by the very forces they created: unrest, power struggles, and revolution. Their stories serve as a reminder that no dynasty, no matter how powerful, is immune to the tides of change. House Targaryen and the Romanovs, two dynasties that rose to power, only to fall in flames and blood. What do you think? Are the Targaryens and the Romanovs the ultimate tragic dynasties of history? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more comparisons of Game of Thrones and real-life history. Thanks for watching.